conscious.
Yes.
And as it says, as a man thinketh, so is he.
Yes.
So you must consciously take the word of God and reprogram yourself.
Reprogram it yourself the way Joshua was told. This word shall not depart from you, not either day, not even at night. It has to be continuously in your mind so that it can help in programming you the way God intended you to be. Otherwise, away from this word, someone else is programming you.
Yes.
Because the mind is set to be programmed.
Yes.
That is how we learn.
The mind, whether you do it yourself or not,
whether you do it consciously or not.
Yes. Your mind will be programmed. The
Yes.
question is who.
Who and how.
Yes.
Because that will dictate your outcomes.
Yeah. And maybe this will be an interesting point to bring this up. The reason why we are seeing globally an acceptance of the LGBTQ community is because they have sponsored programs in Hollywood that we see on TV. They sponsor narratives, influencers.
So many people, so
and
much
slowly people are being programmed without knowing they are being programmed
to accept it little by little through laws, policies, influencers, advertisement in the movies all over. I noticed this pattern early in 2013, 2014. I used to have a movie shop and I realized the movies I was selling, they had this specific agenda running continuously on every movie. So I realized there was something that was happening and I actually stopped that business. But it's actually what has been happening. So the acceptance that is there today is because there has been programming that has been there before.
You're very right on that. I have Netflix at home.
Yes.
And unfortunately, unfortunately or fortunately, I have come to a place where I cannot watch movies. Because for me, I have a principle.
Yes.
If I am watching a movie and anything LGBTQ comes up, I stop it right there.
Yes.
If I'm watching a movie and any F or cuss words come up, I stop it right there. And unfortunately for me, I am finding myself that I don't fit in this world.
Yes.
Because majority of the movies
content now
have that agenda, they have cuss words.
Yes.
I will not sit and allow somebody else to program my mind to accept those things as normal.
Yes.
I refused.
You refused. And I think this is a good time to make that, to warn our parents to be very careful, because now it is even in cartoons.
Yes, true.
The programming is downright to cartoons. So what your child is watching, if you are not keen, they are going to replicate it because the programming is happening. As you think you are giving them cartoons so that they can give you time, you are actually programming them otherwise if you are not conscious about it.
So the programming is happening. You have to be conscious of what is happening so that now that you know, you take charge of who's programming your children and who's programming you.
Yes.
Because I used to have a teacher that teacher I think just hated me.
Yes.
And as a result of that, I hated his subject. Because of the way he was treating me.
You,
I hated anything that was connected to him. I had to get another teacher for me to love what he was teaching.
To reprogram your thinking
towards
the subject.
Exactly.
Wow.
So life is a program. Somebody is programming you. Find out who.
Yes.
Are you the one who's programming yourself, or you're being programmed by somebody else?
Yes.
So today we look at how you now that you know you can program yourself.
Yes.
How do you program yourself to have great relationships with people?
Yes.
How do you do this?
Wow. This is the best conversation I think we should have this month, because they call it the month of love. And sure, love it should be, and we should experience love. But I'd really want us to start the conversation on the point of building lasting relationship, because the word building, then it means that there are multiple relationships that are collapsing, and therefore there is need for us to understand how can we now build something that will last at least. You don't want to get married and get divorced. You don't want to have an issue with your own children. You don't want to have an issue with your own parents. You don't want to build networks and then lose them in a day or two. There are so many relationships that are collapsing. There's so much of betrayal. So I'd like us to go to the basis of building and just focus on the word build. Now, the Bible says our house is built by wisdom. It is established by understanding, and it is filled with good things through knowledge. It's Proverbs 24, verse 3 and 4. So when it comes to building, then it is telling us that there are things that you should do before. Which are the things that most of us avoid or ignore. We like the icing on the cake, but we don't like going behind where the ingredients are happening,
mixed, yes.
where the mix is taking place. And therefore, the outcome is always not what we want. And our complaint is always about the outcome. Why is he leaving me? Why is she divorcing me? Why are my children not loving me? What is the issue between me and my boss? So we are actually complaining about the cake, while ignoring what was done in the baking house that brought about the cake. So when we talk about building, I actually want us to give a more focus on behind the scenes first, before now we come and talk about the techniques and the methods we can apply for relationships. Now, let us take our navigation from the book of Luke, where Jesus talks about who among you who is planning to build a tower that does not sit and analyze if he has enough to finish the tower, or else he does the foundation and he's unable to complete, and people mock him that he started and not completed. What I'm saying is that the foundations of building our relationships are what we need to give our eyes to, our focus to. And when it comes to relationship, there are 3 pillars. This is universal for all relationships, but I will narrow down to romantic relationships because it's a month of love. 3 P's, and I call them the 3 P's of lasting relationship. Number 1 is the presence of God. Number 2 is the purpose of God and the purpose of the relationship. Number 3 is the perception or the mindset towards the relationship. 3 things.
So presence, purpose,
and the perception.
and the perceptions.
Yes.
Yes.
The key foundation of a relationship outside of God is a transaction.
The key
Foundation of a relationship outside of God is a transaction. People outside God relate for benefits. Purely.
What can I get out of this?
Yes.
What's in it for me?
What's in it for me?
Yeah.
For selfish purposes.
Yes, as in you're not making me happy.
Yes. And if you're not, then I can do away with you and get the
Hit
person.
the road, Jack.
Yeah. And that is how it is. Outside of God, just know, if you have any relationship that is outside of the hemisphere of God, it is a transaction. And the day the benefits cease,
It ceases.
it ceases.
So this is now where you're talking about the presence.
Yes, the presence.
They say that Eden, the Garden of Eden, means the spot, the presence
Of God.
Of God.
Yes.
So if you're outside Eden,
You know we are in business.
it's a contractual obligation.
Yes, it's
not a covenant.
It's not a covenant.
Yes.
And it cannot be maintained other way except with exchange. But in God, there is something called brotherly love. There is honor. There is respect. There's a lot that God has provided for us that is not transactional. And even if you don't transact with Fred, there is a benefit and a favor that comes from him, but not from this other person. So the minute you are helping, for example, a widow, you are establishing a relationship that has no direct benefit to you. But from him then, there is a benefit that comes to you. That is just one of the examples. The second thing is the purpose. You must be very certain of the purpose of the relationship from the beginning.
Meaning, when you say purpose, is what is this relationship
Bringing us together
supposed to achieve?
What is the end game here?
Yeah, what is the end game? That's
What is
the right
the
word.
end game here? Any relationship that is not defined has no life.
As in, if we don't know, okay, what are we in this for?
Yes. Or even sometimes I like to use the name, who are we?
Yes.
Even though this is probably being misused out there.
Yes.
But it's good to give the relationship a context. Between me and Fred, we are associates. Between me and Fred, we are friends. Between me and Fred, we are family. We are spouses. You have to give a context and the purpose and the goal of the relationship. Otherwise, it keeps on moving away. And this is where we say that in life, you need an accomplice, you need a companion, and you need an acquaintance. Now, if you make a mistake of making an acquaintance your companion,
You're in trouble.
the day what you are doing together ends is the day the relationship
Ends.
dies.
Yes.
If you make your companion your partner, the day the partnership ends, then the companionship will be strangled, you see. So we must be very clear from the beginning. And finally, the perception, the right perception. This is the right mindset to every relationship. If your mind is not right
Yes.
regarding the person you are relating with, there are no boundaries. An absence of boundaries makes neighbors fight. Presence of boundaries keeps good neighborhood.
Yes.
So you have to have the right mindset in this regard.
Now, as we build this, one of the most, I believe, one of the most important component of a relationship
Yes.
is the relationship that I have with myself.
Yes.
Because I believe the relationship I have with myself is the
Foundation.
is the foundation,
Yes.
and is the factor that is going to affect every other relationship.
Yes.
Maybe we can start with that. How do I build that good relationship
Yes.
with myself so that when I get into a relationship, I'm not getting into a relationship hoping that that person is going to make me happy.
Yes.
I come happy,
Yes.
and you're supposed to come happy.
Yes.
And then together we become happy people.
Yes.
Instead of me depending on you to make me happy, you're not happy, you don't have a good relationship with yourself. So how do we build good relationship with ourselves before we bring
Even
other people
in our lives.
into relationships?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. Now, when it comes to us, you must understand that the relationship, the external relationship, is like an omelette. It is the quality of eggs that determines the health of the omelette. You cannot bring broken people into a relationship and hope to have a healthy relationship as an outcome. Broken people form broken relationships. You see,
True.
It is struggling people who bring struggle into a relationship. So first of
And
all,
hurt people hurt other people.
you see. So we must come back to the beginning where the individuals are formed. Penye tumesema turudi behind the scenes.
Yes.
Now the power behind building strong relationship is strong personalities. And I think we can get this from the first book, Genesis chapter 1, whereby we see the Adam before he's given a wife or an helper. All right? So we can analyze who Adam was. Because if we can get there, then relationships would work. Remember in Matthew chapter 19, I think verse 3, the Pharisees came to Jesus and told him, is there a reason, for whatever reason, that someone should divorce their wife? And Jesus refused to answer that question. And he told me, don't you know it was not so from the beginning? So he told them, now do away with everything you guys have been doing.
Yes.
Let us go back to the basics.
Yes.
The basics were God made a man and then provided a woman for him. But we want to know which is this man who was now in a space where he could be given an helper. Number one, the man was in God's presence. That is the foundation. The three pillars I've talked about.
He was in the presence of God.
He was in Eden. He
Yes.
had a functional relationship, not
Yes.
just a relationship,
Yes.
a functional relationship, an ongoing relationship with his maker.
Yes.
That is number one. So unless you have that, your value system
Yes.
is always bending.
Your values, unless you
Have a relationship with God
your values will be everywhere.
will be everywhere. They keep on wobbling.
Yes.
And that is the same value system you will bring to a relationship with me. You are
Yes.
not trustworthy, you are
Yes.
not honorable, you are not dependable, you keep shifting. Yes. So number one, you have to have a relationship with God to be able to align your internal value systems.
Yes.
Number two, this guy had is that he had a solid self-image. He knew himself so well,
Yes.
who he was and whose he was. And this is an issue of self-esteem. Because the level of self-esteem you have out there, as in within you,
Yes.
dictates the kind of people you relate with and how you actually relate with them. If I see myself as weak and poor, I will come to you as a beggar.
Yes.
If I see
If I see, I will not consider myself to be worthy
yes,
to come before you.
before you, and
Yes.
if I come, I must take the slave position,
Yes.
and I'll make you my master.
Yes.
Because of how I see myself. So the issue of self-esteem is a very important issue when it comes to relationship.
Yes.
A lot of us marry to the level of our self-esteem.
Meaning you marry a person who's at the same level with your esteem.
With your esteem.
With what, and hence the reason why quite a number of, you've heard men say they cannot marry women who are, like captains of industries.
Yes.
Because they feel her self-esteem is up there and mine is here.
It is not even hers,
Yes.
it is his. He looks at himself and mirrors himself with her, and he sees himself below. Now, the fact that he has already seen himself below,
Yes.
because of that mindset,
Yes.
even if he marries her, he will have to put himself below.
Yes.
Which might not necessarily be required because she has accepted him, but it is his mindset that is punishing him to take the slave position
Yes.
while the master's position is available. You see, that is how much your self-esteem affects you. Your self-esteem determines the jobs you apply for.
True.
There is a job that is available that you can do, but you will not take it because you don't feel
Worthy of it.
worthy of it. Business opportunities, you will let them slide right in front of you because you don't feel. So a lot of time, the way you relate with your children, your spouse, your boss, your friends, your networks, it's a function of how you see yourself from within. So align your self-image. This is number 2.
So, very true what you're saying. How do you do that? How do you get that image back to where it's supposed to be?
Yes. This is, I wish I came with my book, Self-Discovery for Self-Recovery.
Yes.
It explains very well. But how you recover your image is trying to find out your source. Until the question of your source is answered, the question of self-esteem will always struggle you. So you need to know, be certain of where you come from. Be certain of what you have. The gifts that you have, the gifts, the talents, the anointings, what you carry. Because if I knew I'm bringing 100 bob in this meeting of ours where we are raising 1,000,
Yes.
I'm confident of what I'm bringing on the table. But what if I don't know what I have? I'll be ashamed to come before you. So you must find out that which you have. Find out whose you are, what you have, and then number 3, find out the mission you are set out for. Because that is what will make you feel like a person. What is it that what is my part to play? Where do I fit in the big figure? What is my position in the big picture? Unless you see yourself there, the question of self-esteem will always have a challenge. And this is the third point we are going to. Adam, the third thing he had his work cut out.
He knew what he was supposed to do.
He was supposed to do. You could wake him up at 12 a.m. What are you supposed to do? He'll tell you this. I have my work very clear.
True.
And that is a function of you as a humanity. It is like having a car that doesn't know what it should do. That is a confused car.
Yes.
Yeah. Everything that was manufactured with a purpose.
There is something, you cannot take a Range Rover to the farm.
Or to the ocean.
To plow.
Yes, or to plow, something
Yes.
like that.
You cannot use a Range Rover to plow, because a tractor was used to plow. Was actually manufactured for that purpose. A Range Rover was manufactured for a different purpose.
Reason, yes. All of them are vehicles.
Yes.
Get me right. All of them are vehicles, but each of them has its own function. Be it a lorry, be it a salon car, be it a tractor, all of these are vehicles. Be it a trailer. So we are all humans. but each of us has a unique purpose. And those are the three things that you need to align yourself from within. With those three things, you have God's presence, you have your self-image, and you have your purpose cut out. Then the relationship with yourself is properly aligned.
So how do we, I still want to go back to the processes. Take, for instance, we have this guy called Tony.
Yes.
Tony has a self-image that is really dented. There are so many things that happened in his life.
Yes, yes.
And so, because his self-image is dented, how does he now work
Towards rebuilding it.
towards building that self-image to become so healthy that whatever relationships he will enter with people, he will be bringing a very healthy person to the table?
Yes.
How does he repair this if it was dented?
I've told you, I think maybe you haven't understood it very well.
Yeah.
Number one, he must seek to find his source.
Okay, he knows he was created by God.
Now,
Yes.
with the source in mind,
Yes.
now get the original instruction. What does God say about you? Because it means what has broken. When you came around, you didn't know anything. So it is things that have happened to you that have broken you. So you want to rephrase, recheck with your user's manual.
Yes.
Go back to the manual. And
So the
find
manual now
out-
here is the Bible.
is the Bible, yes.
Yes.
And find out what did my maker now. I find myself to be a Volkswagen pickup. And I don't feel like I fit here with lorries. I feel broken. I'm not sure where I am. So you go back to Volkswagen and get what was the original user manual
Yes.
for me. So now you read what God says about you. That is the first step to reconstructing your self-image. Because if you compare yourself with anything else, you will always feel short. You understand?
Yes.
Now, once you get your user manual, you will understand who you are, where you came from,
Yes.
and what your purpose is. And those are the three things I've considered. Now, once you are clear of who you are,
Yes.
what you have, and what your purpose is, then you are reprogrammed to see yourself differently. Okay, maybe I can give us a short story.
Yes, please.
There's a lady from UK, or from the Queen's family. Here it's Nikitambo Kidogo. The family was attacked and the king was killed and everything was killed. But this employee ran away with the lady, with the young girl. She was a princess.
Yes.
The worker ran away with her and she took her to her village and she lived for a short while and she passed on. When she was about 22 years, one person visited that area and asked her, "You look like Helen, the princess." But she didn't know anything about Helen, the princess, because she was hidden and not taught about it. But that thing was left within her. She used to live like a normal village person and stuff. But she started asking about Helen. And she was told that Helen was actually the daughter of the king. And when the king were killed, Helen's body was never found.
Yes.
So she started getting the ideas that there's probability that Helen exists. And then she followed the story of the one who she used to call her mother. And she found out that she was Helen. The day she found out that she was Helen, the fact that she was in the village, she changed her perspective and started behaving like a princess because she knew she was a princess. So her self-esteem shifted from 0 to 100 by knowledge of who she was.
Yes.
So actually most of us who are struggling with self-image issue is because we are lacking in a knowledge of who we are. And
We don't know who we are.
Yeah.
And as a result, we are lost.
We are lost. We are comparing. Now, so long as we are comparing with something that we are not, it is like a fish comparing itself with an elephant. It keeps on saying, "I can't believe he's that big. I can't believe he walks." But you are a fish.
Yes.
You are mirroring yourself with a totally different thing. you know, or an elephant comparing itself with a monkey. It's just a monkey. He has to jump over the trees.
Yes.
But the elephant cannot be a monkey. But if the elephant discovered who he was, and the monkey discovered who he was, and the fish discovered who he was, everyone would have a solid identity and comfortable in the environment they belong in. Now, the issue of self-esteem is usually a basis of a comparison, but with the wrong thing.
So you're comparing yourself with an elephant. Why don't I have a trunk?
Yes.
Why aren't I as big as him?
Easier.
Why can't I be strong as him? Yet
Drop
what you
trees.
yet what you were created to do
Yes.
is completely different from what the elephant was
What the
created
elephant
to
does,
do.
yes. So that is actually the main issue. You know, there are so many methods that psychologists have come up with, sociologists, you know, just to address your self-esteem, you know, do this, do you meditate, do you do these things? There are so many things that have been brought up. But the only thing that I have found to be true is the awakening of who you are. That is the only switch that you need to switch on. Once you are certain of who you are, then everything else starts making sense. You will understand why I find it difficult to work with friends, why I find this job hard and I find this one easy, why I find these people not okay with me and this one's okay with me. It will clear so much in you.
Actually, there's a scripture, I think, in Ecclesiastes, and Solomon is talking about an anomaly where the prince is walking,
yes,
while the slave
yes,
is riding the horse.
Riding the horse. And that is the situation we are going through now. We have so many princes that are walking, and they don't know why. They are suffering. Their self-esteem is broken. They feel they don't belong there, but they can't explain why. It's a question of identity. We have these other servants who are kings. They are abusing everyone else,
Yes.
and they don't know why. They don't belong there. It's another question of identity. So long as you can address your identity issues,
You'll be okay.
you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And that's the beginning of it. Because there's no relationship you're going to succeed in if you have an identity crisis issue. Usually you get someone who is complementing your identity insufficiencies.
The other part, before we get to that, I'm looking at some of the things, again, the programming that is going on. Your identity being the key thing in a person.
Yes.
Yet, if you look at the media,
Yes.
the programmings that are being set
Yes.
and sent for people to consume are programs that dent the images of these people.
Yes.
They're meant to disrupt
Who
your
they are.
Yes, your identity.
Yes.
You're told unless your skin is lighter, you're not beautiful.
Yes.
Unless you use this, you're not this.
Yes.
Unless you have an iPhone, I don't know what's the latest iPhone.
16, I bet.
Unless you have the latest iPhone,
Yes.
you are not. It's thank God for Trump, because it had gotten in the States where you're told when you're 5 years old you can determine
any sex you want.
Yes.
Yeah, any gender you wish.
So it's like the attack is on your identity, because once they mess up your identity,
Once you lose it,
they've messed up everything.
You lose everything. Yeah. There's a theory, it's called the cosmetology theory, whereby they say that the cosmetics are usually created to destroy your skin over time, to increase your reliability on them. I think it has been explained by so many people, even Elon Musk, whereby they say they advertise that you have a problem. To address that problem, you need this product. But the product solves one problem and creates another problem. So you need a second product to fix the second problem. But that one creates another problem.
Yes.
And over time, what they do is that they create an addiction and a reliability on cosmetics to feel and look a certain way. And that is how the devil has shaped the system, whereby the most important thing he has to do to you is just make you lose your identity. And once you lose it, he doesn't need to do anything extra on you. He takes all his energy to other fellows. You have been put in a self-destructive process. You are a time bomb. He's just waiting for you to calculate your days to your end.
And probably that's the reason why in the temptation of Jesus,
Yes.
God has just said, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased after the baptism.
Yes.
So the identity is set.
Sorted.
I am good with you, you're my son.
Yes.
Jesus is led into the desert to be tempted. And the first question Satan asks is a question of identity.
Identity, yes.
If you are the Son of God.
Yes, he's challenging his identity.
Yes.
Yes.
Then do this. Meaning he's telling Jesus,
You are actually not.
hey, prove it to me that you are by doing this. When you know who you are, you don't need to prove
You
to
don't need
anyone.
to prove anything, not to anyone. Yes. And if you look at, God has been very keen on this issue. Very, very keen. Just read the book of Gideon. When God meets Gideon, Gideon has the worst self-esteem,
Yes.
the worst self-image, the worst of. Even sometimes I tell people, when someone comes to tell me they have a self-esteem issue, I tell them, first of all, go and read Gideon chapter 7.
Yes.
Judges chapter 7. Read the story of Gideon. See how this man used to see himself. He used to see himself as the most least,
Yes.
the smallest of the smallest tribe. Like he was the least of the least of the least of the least.
Yes.
But God comes to tell him, you are a mighty man. And the guy keeps, who do you have the facts?
Yes.
Even challenged the angel.
Yes.
Have you checked from the books and read that I'm the shortest from the smallest tribe, from the smallest family? These are facts.
Yes.
And God tells him, now let us go beyond facts. In the beginning, you were a mighty man of valor. And the day that guy gets that confirmation, a shift happens to his mind. And from that day on, the man is a totally different man. The same way God meets Moses. And Moses, I'm a stammerer. I caused a
can't
lot
speak.
of trouble
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I did this. And God tells him, I am the one.
Yes.
Get me right. Who is calling you?
Yes. I'm the one who created your mouth.
I'm the one who created your mouth.
Yes.
I'm the one telling you to go. And I am the one behind you. And I'm going to make you a God to Pharaoh. And that just changes everything. So the key thing that God really works with is to try and restore you to who you originally are. Because once that is restored,
Everything falls into place.
everything now starts falling into place. Just watch David.
Yes.
Just watch Elisha. Just name any man. Daniel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Nehemiah. It all began in, first of all, restoring the man to who he is. Then the rest follows.
I was watching a video
Yes.
of this Christian who was addicted to pornography. And then one day he is watching pornography on his computer. And then Jesus walks in.
Yes.
And he says, he was watching, and in his mind he said, oh man, I have been busted by Jesus himself. And in his mind he said, this one, he has come to take me straight to hell.
Yes.
So he's watching it. He froze, and so he's looking at Jesus. And Jesus came. Jesus is not even mad.
Yes.
Jesus was carrying a gown
Yes.
and a crown.
Yes.
So he told him, stand up. So the gentleman stood up, and he dressed him in a gown,
Yes.
a purple royal gown.
Royal gown. Yes.
And he's telling Jesus, no, I'm a sinner. Then Jesus puts a crown on his head.
His head. Yes.
And told him, this is who you are. You're a king.
That is not who you are.
That's not material for a king.
Yes.
And he didn't need to tell him anything else.
To stop.
He just saw himself from Christ's perspective, and all this other stuff,
They will die
they
off.
just died off.
They die off. Yes.
So you're right. When you know who you are, when you see who you are in him.
From the plane of God,
Yes.
not now from the plane of men. Because
Yes.
we can make you an accountant,
Yes.
we can make you a father, we can give you as many titles as we want.
Yes.
But the only title you should work with is the one from God. That is the only title that functions,
Period.
that sorts every esteem issues within you. Yes.
All right. Oh, beautiful. This is good conversation.
Now, you see, people are very keen on getting the grades and getting the certificates, and I'm not against those things. They are good because that is how we function as human beings. God didn't tell any of his disciples or even Paul that you messed up by learning. No, he didn't say any of that. But he just tells them that you have to know who you are, so that even that which you have learned can get a context under which it can operate. Unless you do that, you will always be seeking for something which you don't know what it is. And that is an end to yourself.
You're constantly chasing after the carrot,
yes,
which you will never get.
You will never get to it. Because even the humans, they keep on changing. You know, they tell you you're beautiful if you're more brown, you're more light. Then tomorrow they say it's about the shape. No, you who are flat, you have to buy something. Now the other day they say it's not even about that, it's about the bosom. No, you have to go to another surgery. No, they keep on changing. It's about the hair, because the human identity is fleeting identity. It has no end. It keeps on changing. But the God's identity is solid, and it's only one. So sort yourself from within. Then when you come out now in the picture of relating with people, it's going to be so easy.
Because you've already dealt with you. You have dealt with the relationship with you.
There's an internal alignment.
Yes.
You are totally aligned from within. And that will determine so much. Who you will relate with, who you will not, how you will relate with people and how not. You know what you can take, what you cannot take. It will set your clear boundaries. It is going to be just beautiful for you.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. That was very interesting conversation. You start with you build yourself up. Then when you interact with other people, you are okay. You just okay. You're bringing a complete project,
yes,
to a relationship. Not expecting your wife or your husband, for that matter, to play the role of God to make you happy. You come happy, she's happy, or he's happy, and together, because you're in that presence, you know the purpose, and your perceptions about this whole things are right.
Are right, yes. Absolutely.
Please do that. Find time, go back, just play this video again. Learn those things, take some notes, and practice it. And as you do, something happens. You'll find yourself in a completely different plane, because that's how God created man, to be able to program himself. So don't allow other people to program you. Be in charge of your programs, so that you have the desired results. Thank you very much, Mungai.
Karibu sana.
All right, let's do this again next week.
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Yes.
Do have yourself a lovely morning. This is good stuff.